Something huge is brewing between Nikola Vucevic and the Chicago Bulls. Uncertainty can be one word used to describe the Chicago Bulls this offseason. However, there is one player that is certain about his future in Chicago, and that player is Nikola Vucevic himself. Hello, my name is Isaias Jackson Jr., and thank you guys so much for tuning into Bulls Digest. Look, we got to get into all the news and notes circulating around Nikola Vucevic and his thoughts on the storylines and trade rumors circulating around him and the Chicago Bulls name this offseason. However, 67.5% of you guys are not subscribed, while 32.5% of you guys are. We appreciate you guys on both sides of the field. And look, this is our Chicago Bulls universe. We are the owner, the coach, the GM. Sometimes we're even the player. Get into the minds of the players. We just love to talk about the Chicago Bulls. We love to celebrate them. We love to complain about them. We always do it. And look, one way you can join in the universe and do the exact same thing that we're doing here. Hit that like button, subscribe, and share. And thank you guys so much for tuning into Bulls Digest as well. Bulls star center addresses latest rumors, confirms future plans as well. This is coming from Eli Gregorski. There it goes. Look, I was staring at it for a minute. I was like, you practice this, buddy. Don't fumble it. Don't fumble the bag now, brother. But look, getting into the article here, the Chicago Bulls have remained somewhat quiet over the 2025 NBA offseason. They have yet to sign restricted free agent Josh Giddey to a new deal and have yet to decide on the future of Nikola Vucevic. Throughout the summer, Vucevic has been rumored to either be traded or bought out of his contract with the Bulls. Potential landing spots have been named, teams like the Los Angeles Lakers, the Golden State Warriors, but most recently, Vucevic gave a telling update about his future. And I think we could just jump into that right now. I will give my opinion. I'm going to give my opinion after we hear Nikola Vucevic's comments. He goes on to say, the Bulls GM, of course, Mark Eversley, who contacted me after all the rumors about me, confirmed that none of it was true and that everything we said after the season was still relevant. I knew that, but it's always nice to hear when your GM contacts you to tell you. Vucevic said in an interview with Basket USA about his future in Chicago. Yes, I have almost no doubt about it. Of course, staying in Chicago. That's the mindset I'm preparing with. Afterwards, we'll see. I don't know what's going to happen. Of course, Vucevic is on the last year of his 3-year, $60 million deal he signed with the Chicago Bulls in 2023. His status as the oldest player on the Chicago Bulls roster and his conflicting timeline with players like Giddey, Kobe White, and Buzelis has led to rumors about his uncertain future with the team. And of course, we talked about that as well. What Josh Giddey is going through. He was the $30 million man, the $30 million a year man. You got to pay him. He's a $100 million man walking around here. That was my quotes. And now he's looking at 4 years, $96 million. And he might just have to cave into that. But of course, you can hear more of that talk here on Bulls Digest as well. And you can also see with Nikola Vucevic, this man, 35 years of age. We heard him in his exit interviews with the Chicago Bulls that he wants to play for a contender. He believes the Chicago Bulls are serious in what they're saying, that they want to be serious. They want to contend this year, and they want to continue to contend for years to come. But I think right now, and of course I believe Nikola Vucevic feels the same way, of being 35 years old, going on 36, and going into the end of your last 3-year deal that I think you're going to have in your career. Nikola Vucevic, right now, you're looking to win now. You're in win now mode. You know, especially with your consistent play. We could go on to Nikola Vucevic's stats in a minute, but Nikola Vucevic has pretty much been consistent majority of his career at the center position. And so when you look at Nikola Vucevic and you're seeing the work he's putting in at 35 years old, are you bringing him in with the Chicago Bulls with this young roster, expecting a huge push in the playoffs, expecting to do some damage, and then for him just for him to walk when it's all said and done? No, that's not the best case scenario for the Chicago Bulls. At least when Nikola Vucevic has some value, you know, you're at the end of your contract year, you can already tell the Chicago Bulls, even though they're looking to do great work with their roster, you know, you see them trying to retain Josh Giddey, even if it's for the cheap ski, they're trying everything they can to come up with a contract agreement with Josh Giddey. And then we got to see what the move is going to be like with Kobe White. We got to see how Kobe White is going to enter in contract talks and contract negotiations with the Chicago Bulls this season. You know, also going into the offseason next year. And so with Nikola Vucevic, you're at a spot where, as I mentioned before, you're 35 years old. You're in win now mode, as you said before, as you hinted at in your exit interviews with the Chicago Bulls when they lost to the Miami Heat. you can see the writing is on the wall. After that, and he even says it right here. That's the mindset I'm preparing to go with as staying with the Chicago Bulls. Afterwards, we'll see. I don't know what's going to happen. It's not set in stone. The Chicago Bulls are looking to retain Nikola Vucevic, and rightfully so. He has some decent value, and especially with teams like the Golden State Warriors, as they mentioned before, especially the Los Angeles Lakers, because I feel like they're going to give up on this DeAndre Ayton project real quick. If Devin Booker was out there bullying this man in Phoenix, man, the littlest of things that LeBron James is gonna say to this dude, or hell, even Luka Doncic, he's gonna get his feelings hurt. And I'm not trying to be really personal to DeAndre Ayton, but I'm just seeing what we saw on the forefront. And so, where there's teams that's clamoring for a player that's consistent and with the veteran experience like Nikola Vucevic, the Chicago Bulls has to pretty much jump on that with the quickness, and the fact that they haven't done so is pretty telling. And now seeing that they're going to run with Nikola Vucevic throughout the season, I don't think they're going to let him play throughout his contract. They have to trade him, of course, before February, and definitely think that's going to happen. We're just going to see how this season is going to pan, how the first half of the season is going to pan out. Is Nikola Vucevic going to get the Chicago Bulls off and running? Of course, with the starting lineup that we saw with the Chicago Bulls, of course, the Josh Giddey, the Kobe White, of course, we've seen Montes Buzelis. And you have Nikola Vucevic right there at the center position. I'm not gonna bring up the Isaias Coros of the world. We're gonna wait to see what that three position has in store, for the Chicago Bulls. And so, when it's all said and done for the Chicago Bulls, it is not really ideal to keep somebody like a Nikola Vucevic, who's pretty much at the end of his career. He already told you what he wants. He's in win now mode. That's not where the Chicago Bulls are at. And I think that's pretty much set in stone there. Of course, Vucevic goes on talking about his rumors and future. Though there's been speculation on Vucevic's future for months, the center said he didn't pay much attention to the various reports. There's always rumors. Most of them are false. It's a bit of nonsense. For example, the buyout rumor was misinterpreted in Europe. The journalist wrote that if there was no trade during the season, there might be a buyout option before the deadline, Vucevic added. I know how business works. In the last year of a contract, there's always speculation. Since I can't control anything, I try not to worry. And bro, like you already said it right now to us. You said that you are serious. You believe that the Chicago Bulls are serious in winning now. But of course, we have to see how that plays out. I don't think the Chicago Bulls are going to be sitting at the 3 or 4 seed, in retaining Nikola Vucevic this season. I don't see the Chicago Bulls going on a run that's deep enough, to be top 4 in the East. I could dream and believe it. It's like I could dream and think about it. I could dream and pray on it. But at the end of the day, it's not something that's 100% set in stone. Of course, Vucevic has been one of the most consistent players in the NBA, averaging at least 17 points and 10 rebounds in his 4.5 years with the Bulls. He is one of only 6 current players who have averaged those numbers for their entire careers on the list, featuring stars like Nikola Jokic, Anthony Davis, and Joel Embiid. He's in great company. And of course, just looking at his stats there, 31.2 minutes per game, of course, 18 points, 10 rebounds, 3 assists, going on 3.5 assists per game. Of course, not too heavy on the blocks, but can rim protect when need be. And he's just been an absolute monster, 53% from the field, and of course, 40% from 3-point range. A 6'10" center, touching 35 years old. And as we mentioned before, this is just something that would be ideal for the Chicago Bulls, is just to see what his value is in the open market. If teams are reaching out to you like the Golden State Warriors, like the Los Angeles Lakers, at least in the Los Angeles Lakers case, there's not a whole lot you're going to be working with, at least in that instance, in terms of value and what you're going to get back. But still, you still have Nikola Vucevic's name out there in the market, and you still, of course, get some value from him, no matter what it is in that instance. And so, instead of just letting him walk for the free ski in that instance. And so, though at 35 years old, just going on into the article, Vucevic has commented on his future in the league. He said while he might stay with the Bulls to start the year, it doesn't mean he'll finish his career in Chicago. With the mismatched timeline and the Bulls expecting to focus on their young stars, he might look for other title contending opportunities. And we talked about that as he mentioned it earlier. Of course, he goes on to say, I'd like to try to play for a team that has ambitions to win an NBA title. In Europe, it's easier to join a big team But in the NBA, it's complicated because of the rules and trades. Vucevic said maybe it's not this season with Chicago because we'll be a young team, but you'll never know. Teams' ambitions change quickly with them from year to year, depending on injuries and transfers. And I think that's the problem. You pretty much are talking out both sides of your neck here. Because at 30, you go on to say, let me see where I can find it right here. Going on to A. Of course, saying there's always rumors and he doesn't mind staying in Chicago. I'm prepping with afterwards. Afterwards, we'll see. I don't know what's going to happen. But yes, I have no doubt about staying with the Chicago Bulls. That's the mindset. But then, of course, you go on right here. I like to play for a team that has ambitions to win an NBA title. Yes, the Chicago Bulls have ambitions to win an NBA title, but that's not happening for a while. And so you can already tell the writings on the wall that yes, here we already know what your goal is. We already know what Nikola Vucevic's intent is, and I can see I can understand, pandering to a sense, so as to look, we're waiting to see, when I'll get traded. We're waiting to see what the move is going to be with the Chicago Bulls. However, I'm just going to continue to pretty much save face and say, look, the Chicago Bulls in this instance, we are going to win. We are going to continue to be ambitious. And of course, with our young guys, we are continue to grow and develop and be a pretty much a better version of ourselves last season. But with Nikola Vucevic, yes, that could work with him on the team. But in his last year, you're looking for a world title. You're not going to see that with the Chicago Bulls anytime soon. Of course, it would just be best for Nikola Vucevic to just move on. Just give Nikola Vucevic what he wants here. Of course, he goes on to praise the Chicago's young stars. Vucevic's future remains slightly murky with the Bulls, but he did take time to praise his younger teammates, players Chicago expects to put in elevated roles this coming season. He goes on to say, Josh had a great season. He was very motivated after leaving OKC, and he adapted well to our style of play. It even helped him be even better. He said on Giddey, I like playing with him because he's a point guard who passes, is good in pick and rolls, and sees things that many don't. As a center, it helped me get a lot of easy buckets, which is great to hear. Of course, Giddey and the Bulls are under contract negotiations nearly 2 months into the NBA offseason. He reportedly wants a deal worth $30 million annually, but the Bulls are hoping for something closer to the $20 million per year range. No contract has still been signed yet, and Giddey is still a top remaining restricted free agent, which should still scare a lot of us, in that instance. But he goes on to say about Buzelis. Regarding Montes, he is a great talent. I think he'll have a great career in the league. Vucevic said he is young, but he's already showing he belongs in the NBA. He has a lot of self-confidence, but that's a personality trait I like because when you're young, you have to believe in yourself, but that's no arrogance. He's realistic. He knows what he can do, and he's a player I really like. And that's cool that Nikola Vucevic loves to play with those players. Of course, those players are going to help lead him to grab those consistent numbers, especially at the rim. But, of course, when you look at it on the flip side, Nikola Vucevic, as we mentioned before, if you're ambitious, if your aspirations is for an NBA championship, you're not going to find that in Chicago, not in the next 3 to 4 years. And that's just me being insanely optimistic. In the next 3 or 4 years, you no aspirations, are going to come from the Chicago Bulls in terms of a NBA championship. So that's definitely one thing that Nikola Vucevic is going to think about and put into perspective as we talk about the Chicago Bulls and how they're going to go about trading Nikola Vucevic as well. Because the biggest part about this whole thing is what are we getting back? The Chicago Bulls I fully believe they're going to trade Nikola Vucevic before February. Now, they're going to just get the ball rolling with Chicago. You definitely need a veteran center because at this point in time, are you going to put all your eggs in the basket for Zach Collins, or are you going to move Montes Buzelis or Noah Singay to the center position? There is, at least at a consistency level, there's nobody like Nikola Vucevic on the Chicago Bulls that you pretty much trust at that center position through and through for an entire season. So what are you getting back from the Chicago Bulls? In the words of Shaq, I'm going to always say it, are the Bulls scared of a center? And so I think that's where where we run into muggy waters with the Chicago Bulls, because if you do get rid of Nikola Vucevic, there has to be some talent that's gonna back him. Yes, there is the likes of a Zach Collins, there is the likes of a Jalen Smith, of course the Noah Singay, the Montes Buzelis, who we still have yet to see, at a full extent at the center position. But there's no time for the Bulls to be creative here in this situation. If the Bulls have serious aspirations to win now, that should be their goal. And so for that to be their goal, one of the aspects of that goal, parts of that goal, is getting rid of Nikola Vucevic and trading him away for some value as well. But what do you guys think? Do you guys think keeping Nikola Vucevic is what's best for the Chicago Bulls? Just keeping him on the team, getting him off a nice start for the Chicago Bulls to start off the season? Or do you think that the Chicago Bulls are just wasting their time just sitting on Nikola Vucevic where there is some talent? If the phone is ringing, try to work something out so you can get the best value from Nikola Vucevic so you can get your season off and rolling with a fresh roster. Thank you guys so much for tuning in, and I'll see you guys next time.